Alright. Okay, so, Zayla, Aiden, you should have turned in your chapter 7 and 8 packet today. Okay? So chapter 7 you did on Monday, and if you didn't do chapter 8 yesterday, you did it in the back room or at home. On the module, it says right here. Read chapter 8, complete page 2, and then you're also supposed to do the savagery worksheet. Anybody?
What?
Anybody?
What?
So, this one, that was in the original packet, chapter 7 and chapter 8. Okay, if you haven't, this was from Tuesday. Okay. That's fine, just make it up, okay. So I need that. So Leah, you can email that to me later. Anybody else, you can just email it to me later, that's fine, okay. And then you also need to have the savagery analysis from yesterday, remember?
The quote in the...
Yes. Okay, and then did you finish the back?
I don't know like where we're supposed to come.
So the PowerPoint has all the directions. So if you don't look at the PowerPoint, you can't really do that. I tricked you.
They this little
Just like the last sentence. So then I know you had to go through it. Okay. Alright, any questions? So I need those two by today at some point. Email, if not in person. Okay? Cool? We know what we're doing? Alright. So today we're reading chapter 9 and then we're doing reading questions. Don't look at the reading questions yet if you haven't, because it might spoil the ending. I'm sorry, Liam. Chapter 9 is really overwhelming. There's a lot that goes on and it's really easy to miss. And so that's kind of why I did it online. I want to make sure that you guys actually did it when you're supposed to, so you got what's happening. Okay? Yes.
The reading questions in the packet.
No. Sorry, what?
There's like the reading questions on the packet.
They're online.
So like, also,
I gave you the packet, remember? You have an original packet that's chapter 7, 8, 10, 11 to 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so just 7 and 8 were due yesterday. But with the snow day, I gave you an extra day. So like if you turn it in today, it's not complete. And then yesterday in class we did that savagery analysis. So you just need to finish that. Okay? You know what, boys, are we good? You know what we're doing? Okay. So chapter 9 is on page, do you have it? Okay, at 145. So go ahead and close your computers or push them away so you're not on it and focusing. Alright. A view to the depth. You guys, have you noticed how foreshadowing these chapter titles are?
They're very foreshadowing.
Okay. All of them have names that kind of lead into what's being said. Alright, a view to the depth. Over the island, the buildup of clouds continued. A steady current of heated air rose all day from the mountain and was thrust to 10,000 feet. Revolving masses of gas piled up with static until the air was ready to explode. By early evening, the sun had gone and a brassy glare had taken the place of clear daylight. Even the air that pushed in from the sea was hot and held no refreshment. Colors drained from water and trees and pink surfaces of rock, and the white and brown clouds fluted. Nothing prospered but the flies who lapped into their lord and made the split guts look like a heap of glistening coal. Even when the vessel broke in Simon's nose and the blood gushed out, they left him alone, pouring the pig's high flavor. With the running of the blood, Simon's fit passed into the weariness of sleep. He lay in the mat of creepers while the evening advanced and the cannon continued to play. At last he woke and saw dimly the dark earth close by his cheek. Still he did not move but lay there, his face sideways on the earth, his eyes looking dully before him. Then he turned over, drew his feet under him, and laid hold of the creepers to pull himself up. When the creepers shook, the flies exploded from the guts with a vicious note and clamped back on again. Simon got to his feet. The light was unearthly. The lord of the flies hung on his stick like a black ball. Simon spoke aloud to the clearing. What else is there to do? Nothing replied. Simon turned away from the open space and crawled through the creepers till he was in the dusk of the forest. He walked drearily between the trunks, his face empty of expression, and the blood was dry round his mouth and chin. Only sometimes, as he lifted the ropes of creeper aside to wind chose his direction from the trend of the land, he mouthed words that did not reach the air. Presently, the creepers festooned the trees less frequently, and there was a scatter of pearly light from the sky down through the trees. This was the backbone of the island, the slightly higher land that lay beneath the mountain, where the forest was no longer deep jungle. Here, there were wide spaces interspersed with thickets of huge trees, and the trend of the ground led him up as the forest opened. He pushed on, staggering sometimes with his weariness, but never stopping. The usual brightness was gone from his eyes, and he walked with a sort of glum determination like an old man. A buffet of wind made him stagger, and he saw that he was out in the open on rock under a brassy sky. He found his legs were weak, and his tongue gave him pain all the time. When the wind reached the mountaintop, he could see something again. See something happen. A flicker of blue stuff against brown clouds. He pushed himself forward, and the wind came again, stronger now, cupping the forest heads till they ducked and roared. Simon saw a humped thing suddenly sit up on the top and look down at him. He hid his face and toiled on. The flies had found the figure too. The lifelike movement would scare them off for a moment, so that they made a dark cloud round the head. Then, as the blue material of the parachute collapsed, the corpulent figure would bow forward, sighing, and the flies settled once more. Okay, so what's happened? He found the parachutist, okay? So that's what they're talking about, like, all these flies are, like, eating this, like, dead person, right? And whenever he moves, the flies, like, jump back. So he's talking about that cloud of, like, brown flies. Like, can you get the image of this, like, dead man in a tree? It's all disturbing. Simon felt his knees smack the rock. He crawled forward, and soon he understood. The tangle of lines showed him the mechanics of this parody. He examined the white nasal bones, the teeth, the colors of corruption. He saw how pitilessly the layers of rubber and canvas held together the poor body that should be rotting away. Then the wind blew, and the figure lifted, bowed, and breathed foully at him. Simon knelt on all fours and was sick till his stomach was empty. He threw up. Then he took the lines in his hands. He freed them from the rocks and the figure from the wind's indignity. At last, he turned away and looked down at the beaches. The fire by the platform appeared to be out, or at least making no smoke. Further along the beach, beyond the little river, and near a great slab of rock, a thin trickle of smoke was climbing into the sky. Simon, forgetful of the flies, shaded his eyes with both hands and peered at the smoke. Even at that distance, it was possible to see that most of the boys, perhaps all of the boys, were there. So they had shifted camp then, away from the beast. As Simon thought this, he turned to the poor broken thing that sat stinking by his side. The beast was harmless and horrible, and the news must reach the others as soon as possible. He started down the mountain, and his legs gave beneath him. Even with great care, the best he could do was to stagger. Bathing, said Ralph. That's the only thing to do. Piggy was inspecting the looming sky through his glass. I don't like them clouds. Remember how it rained just after we landed? Going to rain again. So, in movies, in books, when it's raining and cloudy and dark, what typically happens? Something bad, okay? So think of how the author's creating a mood, okay? Think of how the mood kind of plays into it. Ralph dived into the pool. A couple of little ones were playing at the edge, trying to extract comfort from a wetness warmer than blood. Piggy took off his glasses, stepped blindly into the water, and then put them on again. Ralph came to the surface and squirted a jet of water at him. Mind my steps, said Piggy. If I get water on the glass, I gotta get out and clean them. Ralph squirted again and missed. He laughed at Piggy, expecting him to retire meekly as usual in pained silence. Instead, Piggy beat the water with his hands. Stop it, he shouted. Do you hear? Furiously, he drove the water into Ralph's face. All right, said Ralph. Keep your hair on. Piggy stopped beating the water. I got a pain in my head. I wish the air was cooler. I wish the rain would come. I wish we could go back home. Piggy lay back against the sloping sand side of the pool. His stomach protruded and the water dried on it. Ralph squinted up at the sky. One could guess at the movement of the sun by the progress of a light patch among the clouds. He knelt in the water and looked around. Where is everybody? Piggy sat up. Perhaps they're lying in the shelter. Where's Sam and Eric? And Bill? Piggy pointed beyond the platform. That's where they've gone. Jack's party. Let them go, said Ralph uneasily. I don't care. Just for some meat? And for hunting, said Ralph wisely. And for pretending to be a tribe and putting on war paint. Piggy stirred the sand underwater and did not look at Ralph. Perhaps we ought to go too. Ralph looked at him quickly and Piggy blushed. I mean, to make sure nothing happens. Ralph squirted water again. Okay, so what are they debating and going to do? Yes. So Ralph and Piggy are debating on going to Ralph's feast. So he says to make sure nothing happens. Okay, but what's another reason they might want to go to this feast? There's food. Okay, they got some hunger. Also, do you think they're probably kind of scared of them? Okay, so maybe they're trying to also go like make some new friends, make some old friends. Alright? Trying to get that relationship back so they don't die. Okay. Long before Ralph and Piggy came up with Jack's lot, they could hear the party. There was a stretch of grass in a place where the palms left a wide band of turf between the forest and the shore. Just one step down from the edge of the turf was the white, blown sand above high water. Warm, dry, trodden. Below that again was a rock that stretched away toward the lagoon. Beyond was a short stretch of sand, and then the edge of the water. A fire burned on the rock, and fat dripped from the roasting pig meat into the invisible flames. All the boys of the island, except Piggy, Ralph's son, and the two tending the pig, were grouped on the turf. They were laughing, singing, lying, squatting, or standing on the grass, holding food in their hands. But to judge by the greasy faces, the meat eating was almost done, and some held coconut shells in their hands, and they were drinking from them. Before the party had started, a great log had been dragged into the center of the lawn, and Jack, painted and garlanded, sat there like an idol. There were piles of meat on green leaves near him, and fruit and coconut shells full of drink. Piggy and Ralph came to the edge of the grassy platform, and the boys, as they noticed them, fell silent one by one, till only the boy next to Jack was talking. Then the silence intruded even there, and Jack turned where he sat. For a time, he looked at them, and the crackle of the fire was the loudest over the droning of the reef. Ralph looked away, and Sam, thinking that Ralph had turned to him accusingly, put down his non-bone with a nervous giggle. Ralph took an uncertain step, pointed to a palm tree, and whispered something inaudible to Piggy, and they both giggled like Sam. Lifting his feet high out of the sand, Ralph started to troll past. Piggy tried to whistle. Where are you? Yonder way. Jack stood up and waved his spear. Take them some meat. Okay. So you got Jack like sitting up like at the top of all these boys, right? And he's got a spear and he's like, take them some meat. What is this starting to look like? Kind of a dictatorship, right? Like I'm imagining like this like mongrel king like at the top of this like feast, and he's got his spear and he's just like chanting things, okay? The boys with the spit gave Ralph and Piggy each a succulent chunk. They took the gift and dribbled. So they stood and ate beneath a sky of thunderous brass that rang with a storm coming. There's the mood again. Jack waved his spear again. Has everybody eaten as much as they want? There was still food left, sizzling on the wooden spits heaped on the green platters. Betrayed by his stomach, Piggy threw a picked bone down on the beach and stooped for more. Jack spoke again, impatiently. Has everybody eaten as much as they want? His tone conveyed a warning, given out of the pride of ownership, and the boys ate faster while there was still time. Seeing there was no immediate likelihood of a pause, Jack rose from the log that was his throne and sauntered to the edge of the grass. Okay, word choice is throne. Okay, look at little hints like that. He looked down from behind his paint at Ralph and Piggy. What does that mean? He looked down from behind his paint. He's got his face painted, okay, like a tribal warrior. He looked down, okay, they moved a little farther off over the sand, and Ralph watched the fire as he ate. He noticed, without understanding, how the flames were visible now against the dull light. Evening was come, not with calm beauty, but with the threat of violence. Jack spoke. Give me a drink. Henry brought him a shell, and he drank, watching Piggy and Ralph over the jagged rim. Howard lay in the brown swell of his forearms. Authority sat on his shoulder and shouted in his ear like an ape. All sit down. Henry brought him... How did I just jump back to paragraph now? The boys ranged themselves in rows on the grass before him, but Ralph and Piggy stayed a foot lower, standing on the soft sand. Jack ignored them for the moment, turned his mask down to the seated boys, and pointed at them with the spear. Who's going to join my tribe? Ralph made a sudden movement that became a stumble. Some of the boys turned toward him. I gave you food, said Jack, and my hunters will protect you from the beast. Who will join my tribe? I'm chief, said Ralph, because you chose me, and we were going to keep the fire going. Now we run out of food. You ran yourself, shouted Jack. Look at that bone in your hands. Ralph went crimson. I said you hunters, that was your job. Jack ignored him. Again. Who'll join my tribe and have fun? I'm chief, said Ralph tremulously. And what about the fire? Ain't I've got the conch? You haven't got it with you, said Jack, sneering. You left it behind. See? Clever. And the conch doesn't count at this end of the island. All at once the thunder struck. Instead of the dull boom, there was a point of impact in the explosion. The conch counts here too, said Ralph, and all over the island. What are you going to do about it then? Ralph examined the ranks of boys. There was no help in them, and he looked away, confused and sweating. Piggy whispered, the fire. Rescue. Who will join my tribe? I will. Me. I will. I'll blow the conch, said Ralph breathlessly, and call an assembly. We shan't hear it. Piggy touched Ralph's wrist. Come away. There's going to be trouble, and we've had our need. There was a bleak of bright light beyond the forest, and the thunder exploded again, so that a little one started to whine. Big drops of rain fell among them, making individual sounds when they struck. Going to be a storm, said Ralph, and you'll have rain like when we dropped here. Who's clever now? Where are your shelters? What are you going to do about that? The hunters were looking uneasily at the sky, flinching from the stroke of the drops. A wave of restlessness set the boys swaying and moving aimlessly. The flickering light became brighter, and the blows of the thunder were only just bearable. The little ones began to run about, screaming. Jack leapt onto the sand. Do our dance! Come on, dance! He ran stumbling through the thick sand to the open space of rock beyond the fire. Between the flashes of lightning, the air was dark and terrible, and the boys followed him clamorously. Roger became the pig, grunting and charging at Jack, who sidestepped. The hunters took their spears, the cooks took spits, and the rest clubs of firewood. A circling movement developed and a chant. While Roger mimed the terror of the pig, the little ones run and jumped on the outside of the circle. Piggy and Ralph, under the threat of the sky, found themselves eager to take a place in this demented but partly secure society. They were glad to touch the brown backs of the fence that hemmed in the terror and made it governable. Okay, so what's happening in this scene? Someone besides Grab. I know. Okay, what's happening? Yeah.
They're doing like a dance,
Okay, so remember in chapter 6, when they all got in that circle, and I think Roger was in the middle. Okay, Robert was in the middle, and they're like stabbing Robert, like thinking he's the pig, and like it kind of gets too far, and they almost kill him. Okay. He was like, I don't remember that.
I just can't remember if it was. I think it was chapter 7.
I think it was chapter 6, chapter 5. So remember how that was playing out, and they kind of got like caught up in the moment where they're like pretending like this pig is Roger, and they get too far with it, forgetting that he's a human. Liz, phone. I want to see it again. Okay. So now they're doing the same thing. This time Roger is like willingly able. He's like, okay, I'm the pig, and so he runs at Jack, and Jack sidesteps. They're kind of like playing, right? And they're chanting. Now, what's unique about the situation when it comes to Ralph and Piggy? Yeah, it literally says, Piggy and Ralph, under the threat of the sky, found themselves eager to take a place in this demented but partly secure society. So for the first time, we're seeing Ralph and Piggy being the most civilized in this society, right? They're now dropping into the savage, like chanting, murderous kind of circle. Okay? Alright. Try to focus as much as you can on the next 2 pages. All we have left is this. It's confusing and mysterious, and just try as hard as you can. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. The movement became regular while the chant lost its first superficial excitement and began to beat like a steady pulse. Roger ceased to be a pig and became a hunter, so that the center of the ring yawned emptily. Some of the little ones started a ring on their own, and the complementary circles went round and round as though repetition would achieve safety of itself. There was the throb and stamp of a single organism. The dark sky was shattered by a blue-white scar, and instantly the noise was on them like the blow of a gigantic whip. The chant rose a tone in agony. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. Now out of the terror rose another desire, thick, urgent, blind. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. Again, the blue-white scar jagged above them, and the sulphurous explosion beat down. The little ones screamed and blundered about, fleeing from the edge of the forest, and one of them broke the ring of Biggins in his terror. Him! Him! The circle became a horseshoe. A thing was crawling out of the forest. It became darkly, uncertainly. The shrill screaming that rose before the beast was like a pain. The beast stumbled into the horseshoe. Killed the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. The blue-white scar was constant, the noise unendurable. Simon was crying out something about a dead man on a hill. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood, do him in. The sticks fell, and the mouth of the new circle crunched and screamed. The beast was on its knees in the center, its arms folded over its face. It was crying out against the abominable noise, something about a body on the hill. The beast struggled forward, broke the ring, and fell over the steep edge of the rock to the sand by the water. At once the crowd surged after it, poured down the rock, leapt onto the beast, screamed, struck, bit, tore. There were no words and no movements but the tearing of teeth and claws. Then the clouds opened and let down the rain like a waterfall. The water bounded from the mountaintop, tore leaves and branches from the trees, poured like a cold shower over the struggling heap on the sand. Presently the heap broke up and figures staggered away. Only the beast lay still, a few yards from the sea. Even in the rain they could see how small a beast it was, and already its blood was staining the sand. Now a great wind blew the rain sideways, cascading the water from the forest trees. On the mountaintop the parachute filled and moved. The figure slid, rose to its feet, spun, swayed down through a vastness of wet air, and trod with ungainly feet the tops of the high trees. Still falling, it sank toward the beach, and the boys rushed, screaming, into the darkness. The parachute took the figure forward, furrowing the lagoon, and bumped it over the reef and out to sea. Toward midnight, the rain ceased, and the clouds drifted away, so that the sky was scattered once more with the incredible lamps and stars. Then the breeze died, too, and there was no noise save the drip and trickle of water that ran out of clefts and spilled down, leaf by leaf, to the brown earth of the island. The air was cool, moist, and clear, and presently even the sound of the water was still. The beast lay huddled on the pale beach, and the stains spread inch by inch. The edge of the lagoon became a streak of phosphorescence that advanced minutely as the great wave of the tide flowed. The clear water mirrored the clear sky and the angular bright constellations. The line of phosphorescence bulged about the sand grains and little pebbles. It held them each in a dimple of tension and suddenly accepted them with an inaudible syllable and moved on. Along the shoreward edge of the shallows, the advancing clearness was full of strange, moonbeam-bodied creatures with fiery eyes. Here and there, a larger pebble clung to its own air and recorded the coat of pearls. The tide swelled in over the rain-pitted sand and smoothed everything with a layer of silver. Now it touched the first of the stains that seeped from the broken bodies, and the creatures made a moving patch of light as they gathered at the edge. The water rose farther and dressed Simon's coarse hair with brightness. The line of his cheeks silvered, and the turn of his shoulder became sculptured marble. The strange attendant creatures with their fiery eyes and trailing vapors busied themselves around his head. The body lifted a fraction of an inch from the sand, and a bubble of air escaped from the mouth of the wet cloth. Then it turned gently in the water. Somewhere over the darkened curve of the world, the sun and moon were pulling, and the film of water on the earth planet repelled, bulging slightly on one side while the solid core turned. The great wave of the tide moved farther along the island, and the water lifted. Softly surrounded by a fringe of inquisitive bright creatures, itself a silver shape beneath the steadfast constellations, Simon's dead body moved out toward the open sea. Goodness. Okay? So what has happened? Someone Nathan Woodward. What has happened? Summarize those last 2 pages.
So basically, they decided to run first to spray the trees.
Okay. He knows that the beast is not beast.
Yeah, so ways that it was like darkness and they can see it. So they just like this figure. And so making things that we say, this is like Simon was crying yesterday. Jack was
how animalistic can it get? Like, they literally tore Simon to shreds. Okay? Now, let's see if these questions are in here. Okay. Okay. Here's the real question. Were Ralph and Piggy involved? Okay. I like making it disputes, right? Okay. Why do you think he would make it clear that Ralph and Piggy had joined in on the chanting? Right? Right before this happens, he makes it clear that they're involved. And then they kill Simon. So, our two civilized members left in the society. Okay? They just killed the best dude on the island. Right? Now, one more thing I want you guys to pay attention to. Go to, let me see. Does anyone remember in the beginning when they yelled, when they were wanting to kill the pig? Did they say, because now they're saying, kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. The big girl in the beginning, it was, kill the beast, cut her throat, spill her blood. Okay, so why now is it a male? Okay, so or have they advanced from the pig to wanting the bloodlust of I don't know. Okay, obviously he changed that language for a reason. How we interpret it is probably a little bit different. Okay? Is that where you thought this book was going to go? Okay. Is that like the darkness of that scene though? Is that what you were expecting? Him to be like torn a bit apart? Okay. Now, this is what people don't usually get. The last 2 pages, do you know what's happening? What's being described? Okay, why? Or like how is it being taken away to sea? It's on the beach? Okay. The tide, yeah, it's describing the tide. It's talking about how like the moon and the silver sun and the waves are coming out and the sand is smoothing out. The tide is coming in and taking his body away. Okay? If you just killed someone, think about this way. Okay? I'm gonna go for true crime examples. If I'm a murderer, okay, and I kill someone, I have to do something with the body, correct? I have to like face my life, what I just did. With this situation, they kill Simon thinking he's the beast, and then the body is just taken away. Do they ever have to face what they've done? The body's not there, it's kind of just washed away. So it almost like just continually moves them along this path of just straight savagery. So they don't even have to like face up their, their consequences now if it's washed away. So everyone's just like, okay, it happened. No one's face it. Okay? The justice element on this island is not there. That's another example of civilization, right? The justice system is not on this island. Okay? So, you guys have reading questions, 1 through 8. So how does Simon die? I want description. Okay? Who is the beast that the boys are so intent on killing? Why does Golding describe this person as the beast? How does Golding describe the boys as they are killing Simon? Use textual evidence. What point was Golding trying? What point was Golding trying to make about the beast? What was ironic about the boys thinking that they were killing the beast in this scene? To what theme does this chapter connect to, and what is Golding saying about the theme? Okay, a lot of questions that require a lot of thinking. 3. Why does Golding describe this person as the beast? Okay, why would Golding, the person's clearly Simon, right? Why is he setting it up so the boys think Simon is the beast or another human? Is there a reason he chose Simon? Is the best of them? Okay. And think of it this way, if you're familiar with the Bible, and if we're still thinking this is a biblical allegory, okay, think of Jesus' crucifixion. Alright? Are there similarities? If this is a World War II allegory, is there similarities to this kind of slaughter?